Hi, this is Pretty John P. from Carmel College, Mala. Welcome back to the second part of the session on The Outcast, written by Sharan Kumar Limbale's Akamarshi, or The Outcast, reveals his inner conflicts of being a Dalit. As he himself describes, I am an Akamarshi, or half caste. I am condemned, branded, and illegitimate. So, the present extract, The Outcast, taken from the autobiographical work of Limbale, namely The Outcast, tells about the pangs of children belonging to the Dalit community, namely Maha community. So, this Maha community is found largely in Maharashtra, where they constitute around 10% of the population. The Outcast is considered as one of the important works which exposes discrimination against the Dalit community. As it is an autobiographical story, Limbale draws many painful events from his own life. As a member of the Maha community, he had faced many discriminations at school. This extract, The Outcast, tells us about his experience in a school picnic when he was in the third form. In this extract, caste politics is reflected in diverse forms. Let's begin with the text. One day, all the boys and girls from our school were going on a picnic, but we, the Maha boys, the boys belonging to the Maha community, the Dalits, did not know this and so had come to school as usual, our school bags on our backs. Then our teacher asked us also to go back and get our tiffin. Excited at the thought of being out of school, we ran home like oxen in a race on the Ker Day. Ker Day means the day after the bull worshipping festival known as Bail Pola. We returned with our Jowar Bakri. Jowar Bakri it's a type of dish made by the Dalits using Jowar plant. Joe Bakri and Chutney tied up in dirty rags and joined the group of boys and girls who were standing in rows. Just then Bivrabai appeared. Here, in this paragraph, the upper caste students were always protected by their teachers. They were already informed about their picnic and they all came prepared. But the outcast students, they were not informed before and came without any preparation for the school picnic. They had to go back home again. And here, Limbal is giving a comparison. They are like the oxen in a race on the Care Day after the Bahil Bola festival. To bring their tiffin, for the tiffin is nothing but java, bakri, and chutney for the school picnic, and this is tied up in dirty racks of cloth. But the mere thought of going to a picnic, which they have not experienced before, and that made them forget everything. Moving on to the next two paragraphs, we returned with our jawar, bakri, and chutney tied up in dirty rags and joined the group of boys and girls who were standing in rows. Just then Bivrabai appeared, gripping the stalk of a dry jowar plant. Roughly, she pulled the pasha from his robe, making him cry. Bivrabai dragged him off. Pasha wanted to go on the picnic with us, but Bivrabai wouldn't let him. Pasha, follow me or I will kick you. Your father has left to dig pits without eating anything. You must take his food to him or he will starve the whole day. He will chop you to pieces when he returns. Come along. Bivrabai was very annoyed at Pasha and she lashed his back, abusing him. So, in this paragraph, we are introduced to Pasha and his mother Bivrabai, who belongs to the Dalit community, that is Maha community. Bivrabai did not allow her son to go to school picnic because she wanted him to take tiffin for his starving father who has left home to dig pits. Seeing his reluctance, Bivrabai beat him at his back and started abusing him. Pasha is thus denied of the pleasures of children to go to school picnic. And secondly, primary education has got no significance in the life of these kids, and their right to education is denied. And this fact is stressed by Limbale. Moving on to the next paragraph. It felt strange to be moving with all the teachers, boys and girls, in a single group. Women gathering dry dung cakes watched us admiringly. We were excited. Haria, who was grazing cattle along the banks of the stream, looked restless. His father had taken him away from school and put him to work grazing cattle. Haria was employed on Grimelia's farm. For his hard work, he received food and 100 rupees a year. Haria's mother didn't even have proper clothes. Most of the time, everyone in his house was only half fed. Now that Haria had started working, he was no longer a burden, but an asset to the family. The question of his bread was solved. There would be his pay at the end of every year. Clothes could be brought now for everyone in the house with that money. As we all passed by in rows, Haria, astride a buffalo, was singing. So, on the way, they saw a group of women gathering dung cakes. The admiration in their eyes is stressed by Limbale. Haria, a student at the same school, was grazing cattle along the banks of a stream. His father took him away from school to work in Gurmalia's farm because of their poverty. His mother did not even have proper clothes, and they could not eat properly. But after Haria getting a job of 100 rupees a year and food, he seemed no longer a burden for his family. And at present, his family members could afford sufficient food and clothes. And here too, we are getting an instance of child labor, and also his right of the children for education, and that is denied here for Haria. Next paragraph. The tough boys of the group went up the trees, and the other boys and girls ran about all over the place. The girls played fugadi. Fugadi, the image is given here. It's a game usually played by girls in which two persons hold the hands of each other and start whirling. Their teachers, card games. There was great fun and excitement. Too young to participate, I merely watched them from a distance, admiring them as those dung gathering women had admired us. The Wani, that is people belonging to the Wani community, a subcaste of Vaishya community. The Wani and Brahmin boys played kabaddi. Being marked as Mahars, we couldn't join them. So Malya, Ambria, Pashya, all from my caste, began to play touch and go. We played one kind of game while the high caste village boys played another. The two games were played separately like two separate whirlwinds. So whirlwinds means the picture is given here. It's a column of air moving rapidly around in a cylindrical or tunnel shape. So in this paragraph, Limbale stresses the game of politics, and I have given you pictures or images of the different games they have played. Some are climbing trees, some are running around, some play fugadi, some touch and go, then kabaddi and card games. So here we see a disparity in the playing of games. Caste becomes a criterion to choose a game. Separate games were allotted for upper caste and outcast students. The upper caste Vani and Brahmin boys, they played kabaddi, they climbed trees, and the upper caste girls, they ran around the place, they played pugadi. Teachers played card games. But being a member of the Maha community, the Dalit children could only play simple games like touch and go. Sharan Kumar did not join the game with the upper caste children. He just watched them from the distance. So, playing separate games by children belonging to the upper caste and outcast is here compared to separate whirlwinds. Play over. We settle down to eat. Boys and girls from the higher castes like Wani, Brahmin, Mawari, Muslim, Maratha, Teli, fishermen, goldsmiths, and all the teachers, about 100 or so, sat in a circle under a banyan tree. We, the Maha boys and girls, were asked to sit under another tree. The high caste one said a prayer before eating, which didn't make any sense to us. Pasha didn't even have a piece of cloth to tie up his food in, so his bakris were tied with mine. Malia had brought bumble fish. Ambria had brought only bakri and no chutney. We opened our bundles. The high caste children offered their food to our teachers. Theirs was a variety of fried and tasty food. Here, bombil fish, the image of bombil fish is given here, and of course, bombil fish is also known as Bombay duck fish, and the picture of Baki is given here. And let's move on to uh, the politics of food being described over here by Limbale. Here, in these two paragraphs, we see, of course, the disparity in food. Caste and money again become criteria to choose food. Separate trees were given for upper caste and outcast students. The upper caste children were given banyan tree under which they sat in a circle to have lunch. They had brought variety of fried and tasty food and they offered them to their teachers. Whereas teachers, they sat together with the upper caste children who were 100 and more in total number. But being a member of the Maha community, the Dalit children could only sat under a bare tree. Pasha brought only bakris and no clothes. He had no clothes to even tie up his food, and they were tied up with Sharan Kumar's bakaris. Malia, another boy, he bought bombil fish curry. Ambria had brought only bakri and there was no chutney. Even then, these children they shared food with what they had. Even the tree we sat under was tattered like us. Whenever the wind shook its branches, it produced waves of hot air that hit our faces. We sat in its broken shadow. Malia offered us his bombil curry, and in exchange, we offered him our dry bakri, as he had not brought any. Dare I offer my chutney bakri to my teacher? Would he eat it? Bakris of the high caste were, of course, of a better quality. Their mothers had given them fried food, whereas we had just pieces of dry bakris which were hardly enough to satisfy the cave of hunger. So some questions arouse in the speaker's mind. Dare I offer my chutney and bakris to my teacher? Would he eat it? The upper caste students brought thus fried and tasty dishes of high quality because for their lunch was prepared by their mothers. But outcast students brought pieces of dried bakris, chutney, and bombil fish curry, which were not enough to satisfy their hunger. My stomach was like a way to the graveyard and continuously swallows the dead. My mother, Masma, used to shout angrily, "What is it you have? A stomach or akal coat? There seems to be a gizzard in your stomach. Why don't you go around with a big bowl at your mouth?" I always felt half fed. Water was given, I ate greedily, and nothing was ever enough. Everyone in my house needed food, so how could I alone think of eating till I was full? I had searched for every bit of leftover food in the house to make up my tiffin. I felt I had swallowed the whole land and was chewing stones. Gizzard means a muscular, thick walled part of a bird's stomach for grinding food. The picture is given here. Here, the stomach is or which symbolizes hunger. Stomach is being compared to graveyard that continuously swallows the dead. Again to Akalkot, a place which is known for restaurants in Maharashtra. Again to a gizzard. So nothing ever satisfied Sharan Kumar's hunger. Everyone in his house craved for food and he could not eat all alone till his stomach was full. He could not find even a bit of leftover food in his house to pack his tiffin for the school picnic.